Hello. That was the best face you just made. Hello. Welcome to episode 4 of Half Sick of Shadows. Today we are playing probably one of my favorite games to have come out recently, written by our very own Mr. Grant Ellis, Unrestful Hearts in the Garden of Glory. It's a game about knights doing great things and falling in love, and that's about it, I think. Knights doing great things and falling in love and telling awesome stories and changing the world around them. And we thought it would work very well for this words for the setting that we've made. This is taking place, I guess, in the year after our The King is Dead game. Good King Bruce Holloway sits on the throne, except by sits on the throne, I mean lies sick in bed while his council rules by proxy. And what other kind of major things happen? Oh, people are worshiping the monsters that have appeared in the north. And yeah, the Vespucci's are probably still scheming. Lucretia, the head of House Vespucci, ran off with Gerald Gerald Lane, and I think left a pretty substantial power vacuum in both of those houses. And so it'll be really kind of interesting to see what happens otherwise. So, Grant, how are we going to start this with a tarot reading, or is it? Yeah. Oh yeah, we should make characters. That's a thing we do in a game, right? Oh, okay. Oh yeah, okay. Uh, apparently, apparently they can't hear you talk, but they can hear keyboards.
I should be back, and they can all hear me, and I can see levels now. So what happened is, during the great Grant unplugged all the USBs of 2019 that happened just before the stream, it crashed my virtual mixer, And I'm glad to know that we have a chat though, a chat
Yeah.
to let us know.
Hey, hey Mahalia.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's not my keyboards though, unfortunately.
oh,
Thank you, Mal. So the houses in this game won't be traditional in Restful Hearts houses. They will be the houses that we created as part of the world of Cascata. But we always start with a house. I will go ahead and we've talked a little bit about the houses. So what house would you like to play today? And I'm actually going to make you a GM
okay.
on that game. It's not that it really matters. It'd help if let me actually switch to just our heads while I set that up so they don't look at all
Okay.
my Roll20 nonsense.
All right. Yeah. Well, I'll talk about the houses a little bit for those of you watching who don't know the houses. So we have four houses currently. We have House Lane. House Lane holds the lands to the north. They are a very small house that is pretty poor, but they have a strong army, and they are the last defense against the monster threat. About sometime in the history, we haven't exactly decided when, but over 100 years ago, because it was long past 100 years from this point. There was something called the Calamity, a great magical
Was
disaster.
it called a
Um,
calamity?
yeah, that's what I've been calling it.
Like literally, that's what Critical Role calls theirs.
Oh shit.
Yeah, yeah.
Whoops. Look, it's a good word. Matt and I are just on the same level. Um, yeah, there was some big awful thing. It was called the Calamity. It was a big magical stuff, lots of scorched earth. And out of this scorched earth and awful toxic swamp came monsters called the Children of the Calamity. Um, they and House Lane has kind of made it a name for itself by fighting back against this monster threat. Recently, people have started worshiping the Children of the Calamity in this new cult religion that has popped up in the year since Good King Holloway ascended the throne. There is House Holloway. House Holloway is another very small, very impoverished house in the mountains. They used to have great power, but there was a period of madness in which House Holloway was pretty much destroyed. Um, there are also there also seem to be demons coming from the old mines. Are the demons the same? I don't know if we ever decided if the
No,
demons they're not the children of
or
the Calamity.
no, and we'll find out more about them while we play. I have some ideas.
Okay, good. I have no ideas about them. So, um, and then there are in those are kind of the northern houses. The southern houses are House Mercier and House Vespucci. House Mercier originated in a neighboring country and has recently come to the land of Cascata. And they have a kind of sordid past with our illegitimate queen, who everybody thought was a Vespucci, but was actually the illegitimate daughter of, or descended from the illegitimate daughter of a Mercier and married to a Vespucci. And just some guy named Andre. I don't think we ever decided if Andre had a house.
Andre is not a noble.
Andre was not a noble. So just some guy named Andre. And House
Well,
Mercier was
he had an office, but he did not have a title.
House Mercier was founded by this illegitimate queen's half brother, Branyan Mercier. And then there's House Vespucci. They are the oldest house in Cascata. They are large, ancient, and heroic. They should have been everyone thought they would have been ruling for hundreds and hundreds of years. But at the beginning of our The King is Dead game, we found out that Queen Esmeralda Vespucci II was not, in fact, a Vespucci, because Queen Esmeralda I was not a Vespucci. And they almost got the throne back, but then didn't. So, and their lands, Mercenary and Vespucci lands, are beautiful and green and lush, and they're both very wealthy houses. The kissing houses, they're called, right?
Mm-hmm. They're known as the kissing houses because they face each other geographically, and there's a lot of tension between them.
Yeah. So, are you done your Roll20
Uh,
magic?
roll 20 should be set up.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, we'll make some knights. Um, do you want to make your knight first,
Yeah, I was
or
gonna
should
say
I?
why don't you choose your house first? I think that's where we started before I had
Yeah.
I had an issue.
All right. I am going to pick House Lane because I want to be a badass monster hunter.
All right, I'm going to start with House Vespucci. Uh, I'll get into the character concept a little later, but I think our characters will probably get along if you're a badass monster hunter. So then we
Is
need
this what we kind of talked about?
maybe uh, the concept for my character. Uh, I think the title that he is known as is the Dragon of the Mountain. I picture a Vespucci who has essentially been sent to be the head knight over House Holloway's mountain because they've sold so much of it. And he does nothing but work with a unit of demon hunting Holloways, who of course are all mad. Um, but
Like mad,
well, there's
like
all these stories
brain,
about.
or mad or angry?
There's a bunch of stories about House Holloway. They're
Okay.
just different than us. There might be some demonic influences. They might also be angry, especially since their king lies dying. And there was this hot to trot Vespucci knight that was sent to lord over them. But they like him. He won them over. So I want him to be called Giordan, which isn't a real name, but that's what it is in my dream. I dreamed his name.
Okay.
Giordan Vespucci. And he is known as the Dragon of the Mountain. Um, and his attractive qualities are going to be tall. He's going to be bold and actually not bold. I'm going to put forthright and I'm trying to think the right word for this. Let me look at my list. do, 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 do. So, part of the game, we have a list of attractive qualities. Hmm. Hmm. I think he's going to be devout.
Ooh.
Yeah. This is a devout boy.
Oh boy. Which is interesting because one of the things that I didn't mention about House Holloway is that House Holloway has a different religion um, than the rest of the country. Um,
And we also know that a new religion has formed as a result of the end of the king is dead that has been spreading
Yeah.
across the countryside, which
Yeah.
I
So
think may have roots from Holloway.
mm. So there are three religions in the or three major religions in the land right now. There is this kind of religion practiced by most of the country, the majority religion. There is the Holloway religion. It's not like the Holloway religion, but House Holloway is it comes from those lands. Um, and House Holloway is the noble house that practices that and that has sat on those lands for a long time. And then there's this new religion um, that worships the children of the calamity, and probably came out of the North House Lane. Um, so I will make. Well, I'll put my person here, I guess, or
Anywhere.
yeah, I want the purple one.
Cool.
I was like, oh, I don't want to put it beside Grant's because.
Well, that's allowed.
But
Our heads
no,
are
I want
next
the
to each
purple
other.
one. So this is Tora Lane. No, just one R. I like that better. Tora Lane. Um, Tora Lane doesn't have a fancy name, but her attractive qualities are accomplished at arms, um, steadfast, and hmm. I want like loner.
You can, well, an attractive quality, so let's think about that. That's a good one.
Yeah, like
Think of a good way to.
good way to because there's brooding, which is like kind of set apart, but like I think she's just
I get what you're
a
saying.
loner, you know. Um,
So
solitary.
let's look at a. Yeah, that's a pretty good one. Let's look up some synonyms, just because that might help us find the
Mm.
evocative word. So there's solitary, outsider, recluse, introvert, lone
Oh,
wolf.
introvert is nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maverick, nonconformist.
No, those ones are a little bit.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm just gonna read through all of them. You don't
oh,
have to
please
use.
do.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, so introvert is pretty good.
Yeah. So we said, oh, steadfast was the other one. Accomplished at arms, steadfast, and introverted. Intro. Accomplished at arms is too long. Introverted. All right. So those are our first nights. Shall we make our second nights? Or do we want to make our second nights now or later?
I think we might make them later as the scenes call for it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we both have knights, then we need to do their narrative pools and adventures pools. So we have three narrative pools, which are crown, passion, and glory. Um, crown relates to politics, passion relates to knight's desires, and glory relates to public perception. They're just narrative weights. They don't mean anything unless they're juxtaposed to something else in the fiction. So we use these points in order to create fictional elements that exist in the world. And we start with three in each category and then decide if we want to add any to others. Uh, I'm going to say that I'm going to boost my crown 1 for being devout, but I think my passion and my glory will remain a 3. If I had to eyeball this, I'd say your glory goes up 1 for being accomplished at arms, the rest stay at
Yeah.
3. And
Yeah, that's
these
what I
things
was
are
thinking.
they're in flux all the time. So then, as far as our narrative pools, or our adventure pools, they start at 3. Then we simply have 5 points to add to them however we want. So we have, I would to say, valor, dashing, and cerebration.
And do these ones also get like, or are we coming up with a static score for them right now?
They're actually all going to start at 3. Then you simply have 5 points that you can add to
Okay,
them
yeah,
however
yeah,
you
but
want.
like, so
You're not going to add any of your attractive qualities to them.
no, sorry. My question is like, next session we play this, everything resets again, right?
Everything resets every session.
So I should, like, if I'm putting my character creation, if I put like 2 points in cerebration, then I have a score out of 5.
Forever.
Okay, forever. Perfect. Valor, dashing, cerebration.
Yeah. So I'm going to do 5/5, 5/5, 4/4. In fact, I'm probably going to do my cerebration's just going to be 3/3. He is not a knight of deep thought.
Hmm.
In fact, yeah, my dashing's going to be 4/4. And then I'm going to have 7/7 for valor. He is a sword smashing knight.
Hmm. So I did 6, 4, and 5.
6, 4, and 5. Got it.
Yeah.
Do. Is our
Oh,
math
and
right?
the crown, passion, and glory, those aren't static scores. Those.
I was gonna say, so you
Yeah.
started at 3 for each one, and they moved up to now
One
crown,
moved up to
passion,
a 4,
glory
yeah.
change. Yeah. So
All right.
did I not spend all my points? So that would be 4. That would be 5. So I moved my dashing up to 4 from 3. So that's 1.
1, and then
And then I added
you
4. Did you spend extra points on your cerebration?
Yes. Yes, I did. I did not mean to do that. I just can't do math.
It's hard. And we're playing this without Ethan. And I tried to make it simple.
Hey, hey Norm, how are you doing? It's good to see you.
This is like Cheers. Norm!
It's very exciting.
Hey, look at that little star next
He's
to
a little
Norm's
star.
handle. He's got a little star.
He's a little
Subscriber.
star because he was my very first subscriber. He's special.
Good stuff. Now, we go into the actual story part of the game. So the world's created through the other things. We're going to go through a tarot reading. So the game uses tarot cards. And it's going to be an inverted devil card. Dun, 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 dun,
Oh,
dun,
good.
dun.
I mean, actually, that's actually good.
Depending. So breaking free, regaining control, and detachment. So let's think about how this can impact. We also have to figure out what tarot suits impact what houses.
Oh, we didn't think
Don't
of
move my
that.
card.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it'll end up over there eventually. So let's see. So let me think through this. So breaking free, regaining control,
Whoops.
detachment.
There goes
So
all of my tarot cards as I was trying to get my little book.
so this should be a dynamic incident that sets the world ablaze. Um,
I feel like we just had a dynamic incident that sets the
there's
world ablaze.
no. We had a session and it's been a year, right? So the world's not ablaze right now. You have a ruling council, you have dragons, you have monsters, you have a new religion, but now
Grant
strength. No.
keeps showing up.
So now there's going to be some conflict. There's going to be some real shenanigans. A house has split.
Yeah.
A house has split, and there is a new house that has formed. It is the House of the Burning Talon, and their surname, their family name, is going to be. Okay, here we go. Da, 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 da. This is House Harper.
Ooh.
And House Harper has
I might automatically hate House Harper.
Well, that's allowed. They've come from your house and House Holloway.
Okay.
There was a wedding, and there was a marriage, and it was a former mine owner wed his eldest daughter to a well-known, respected military leader, and at that wedding there was a coup. They seized the lands and they invited guests from that military leader because he said he will not allow his bride nor his family nor his name to be under the tyranny of crown any longer. Now, King Holloway has only been king for a year, and so this is actually what we'll say he has been essentially bedridden for the better part of a year at this point. So this is 2 years since the King is Dead game. And so House Harper has formed. So there is a rebellion where large numbers of House Lane, House Holloway have done this. Now, we need to come up with a scene that will pose a question that we want to answer. And this is actually a good dramatic event to tie our characters together, because you are a knight of House Lane, I am a knight of House Vespucci who lives in the mountains. So let's come up with a scene and see how we want to frame it.
So what question do you want to answer?
Ooh.
Or is this personal relationships or societal relationships?
Well, we need to sort of frame the conflict. So how will the crown respond to the rebellion is the question I'm posing. So it's societal. And I think this is a scene that our characters are more in the background of, and it may be where they come together. Like, it may be that Tora Lane is escaping from the coup. It could be that Jordan was supposed to receive new recruits that were coming back from the wedding. They never showed up, and then we've kind of gone down. But it's essentially, I think the question we're looking to answer is how will the crown deal with it? Crown sits on Holloway's head. Jordan is the ascendant, or Vespucci is the ascendant house. What would bring us there? What would bring us to deal with this? And it could be that this is a scene in House Lane's territories in the north, these northern lands where they're trying to figure out what to do with it, or it could be a scene in House Holloway.
Mm-hmm. What do you think? What's at stake? I'm going through the relationship scene.
Okay, so the stakes for this scene are The stakes are war, civil war, essentially.
Okay.
Because the crown could say, you totally can form your own house, and we agree with you. Or they could say, what you're doing is illegal, and we have ancient treaties with an ancient house that is House Lane. You're all under arrest, you know? Those are the
Mm-hmm.
stakes.
Mm-hmm. All right. Um, so if our characters are, yeah, in the background, the foreground of the scene is this coup. Do you think this coup has just happened? Is it actively happening? Uh,
I think it's happened. It's happened, and news has started to spread. It can even become
okay.
a personal scene.
Um, and so, yeah, the question we've already decided what's answered. Um, and so the conflict of the scene then
Ooh,
is
I'm starting to see. Yeah, the core conflict of this scene is the Crown versus House Harper.
okay.
And the way I picture this in my head is Jordan as a uh, knight of House Vespucci, House Ascendant, close in the area, might be he and the Knights of the Mountain, House Holloway, are being led by Tora to Harper's territories, and we're going to try to treat with them. But we haven't decided. I don't know. That's what I'm starting to see the shape of it in my head.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there was like I think Tora was at the wedding and I think there were a few of um there were a few of uh Jordan's comrades there at the wedding as well, and I and Tora escaped with them.
Okay. The way I picture this scene is this because I don't want like all of these characters to die in the first scene because dice
No.
rolls and things like that. The way the scene will be played out is we're traveling together as a unit to House Harper, and through our dialogue and the way we play the scene, we'll decide whether or not Jordan's sent there to.
Am I trying to maybe convince Jordan to come with me? Is
He
that what we
doesn't
could
need to
do?
be convinced. I think he's
Okay.
been mandated by the crown to go with a
Okay.
message. I don't know the contents of his message, so I think we play the scene, and then the big reveal at the end is whether or not I'm sent there to execute them all, or I'm sent there to uh, endorse their house on behalf of the
Mm-hmm.
crown. And even then,
All
I might
right.
be sent to do that, but have my own ideas, and where it's like, no, they're traitors.
Yeah.
They resisted. All right, so uh, let's. We're gonna add, based on that event, the revolution wheel is going up 2 ticks, and I'm actually going to drop a. I'm going to drop a clock, and the
Do it.
clock has 4 sides. These are our scenes, and this is House Harper's Rebellion. Yep. Just put this in the middle. So, and this first scene's going to be, and then what we'll do now, this is kind of how we change it. We'll sketch some scene ideas. So, I like the idea of road to, what should we call their town? Harper's Landing, Harper's Hill, Harper's Harbor.
Um, I don't know. I don't think we should call it Harper's anything. uh, or if that's what they've called it, but
We're
I think
going
it
to
has
keep.
another name.
Okay. What's the ancient name of where the wedding occurred?
Mm,
Where do people of House Lane traditionally get married is another question.
yeah. Um, I don't want to make this too Game of Thrones, but like because we decided that House Lane was like a lot of swamps and a lot of like burnt tundra. Um, I think that there is like a grove of trees, or like a forested area in the House Lane lands. It's very small, but it's
Within
kind of the one place where there is still significant growth after the calamity.
Okay, so there's going to be a grove. Uh, let's call it the. I'm just going to call it the Shadow Grove. It's in the shadow of the mountain because House Holloway's on the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Despite being in sort of the shadow, it's a dark forest. Uh, Shadow Grove is where people go. So the first scene is the road to Shadow Grove. And then the second scene will probably be what happens at Shadow Grove.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, confrontation. We'll see how it goes. Uh, we'll just add it because we won't know till the end of the scene whether or not the nature of it. So there may be no reason to play it. So let's start to frame the scene. So let's set it. How does it look? How far away are we from the Shadow Grove?
Um, I think we are. I think it's probably like a couple days ride. Um,
Okay.
yeah.
Have we been traveling together for some time, or is this the meeting of Tora Lane and the dragon for the first time?
Um, yeah. I think maybe Toro was like very injured um on the way. And so when she came into the camp, she was like not totally conscious. Um and and so she like uh, yeah, she's meeting the dragon then for the first time,
Okay.
um kind of
Uh,
on her feet.
yeah, so I believe, there's soldiers at arms in a small camp. There's not many members of House Holloway there, but there is a large dispatch of what looks to be about 50 soldiers. You can see them as the lights catching their armor and their shields, and there is one heavily plated in black in the front, who rides. He's holding a dragon helm under his arm. He's taking the lead, and these individuals, as they ride, look exhausted. Jordan has been force marching them for 3 days. He is going directly to the Shadow Grove. Um, and it almost looks like they might just pass your camp, like, even though there are other members of House Holloway. Um, but there is a short rider that rides up to Jordan and, appears to say something to him. And he motions. And this second individual uh, rides up. They're very narrow, gaunt features, beady little eyes. They're dressed in little more than rags. This is Alvin, the squire of Jordan, who essentially speaks to Tora and those around Tora. And my lord liege says you must clear the road for the dragon's march on the Shadow Grove. Though, if you want to come with and you can keep up, he'll make sure you're paid good wages.
And what authority does the dragon have to fight in my family's affairs?
He sent on behalf of good King Holloway himself. Got a signature and everything from his mistress. Or lover, or wife. It's hard to tell with them Merciers. Blanche actually signed it. And there's, of course, there's rumors.
Yeah. Um, His men look tired. They should rest, or they won't be any help to us.
Dragons don't get tired. They were tired on the first day.
I will not move. The dragon will have to stop and let his men rest.
By what authority do you command his legion?
By the ancient authority of the land that he's standing on.
A land that belongs to the Clark Crown last I checked, unless you're one of them usurpers like we've been sent to deal with. Jordan arrives, calls out in a loud voice. Rest here. Squire kind of looks like betrayed. Are you a Ser or a Chev?
Oh,
I'm a Ser.
yeah, I think something about Chev feels weird in my brain.
Feels weird for Lane.
Chev Lane, yeah, it's a little. We'll go Sarah Lane. Although I don't think she particularly like uses.
If you're a knight, you've got one.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But I think maybe it's maybe in House Lane the honorifics don't matter as much.
No, they don't. We go through you guys the dime a dozen.
Well, yeah, because we have just as many knights as we do like peasant fighters, and they all fight equally as hard.
Right.
I think Alvin, looking very awful, says, Taurus kind of smiles and says, "You could keep going if you like. We'll catch up to you."
I'm obedient to my master. Well, that's what he says.
Oh, is where is Jordan? Is he like coming
Jordan's
up?
on his horse. He's he's come to your camp, and there are individuals in House Holloway who are attending to your wounds who like stop and salute and almost look like they've been caught doing something wrong. And he looks at him. He goes, "Which of you are survivors of the Harper wedding?" Which is what he's referring to it as. Or if you don't...
We all are.
They shall be easy to quell then. They left many survivors. What can you tell me of the ordeal? Do you know how many there are? Have we met before? Apologize.
I don't spend much time in Talus, so if that's where you're from, Ser Vespucci, then no, probably not.
From there, but I haven't lived there for 2 years. You patrol these northern lands.
Yes.
You're warden up here.
I fight the monsters.
What is a fight with a monster that you are most known for being triumphant at? Probably how you became known for being accomplished at arms or steadfast.
I think so. She uses a pole arm. Uses a spear or a glaive of some sort. I think a spear. Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I love Tamora Pierce too much. It's a glaive. And I think there was like a swarm that kind of like there was a patrol, um, and while Tora was still like newly knighted, um, was sent to scout out ahead, and out of this kind of like black dark mud, just a swarm of monsters appeared around her so that nobody could see her. And then like, you know, not a minute later, the swarm was quelled and Tora was standing there covered in ichor.
Jordan references this incident and explains that your name and accomplishments are well respected amongst their unit.
Oh, I suppose. Thank you.
He
Why?
explains. Okay, go ahead.
Why are you here?
I have been sent by authority of the crown to end House Harper's claim to the Shadow Grove, to their lands, and to make an example out of the rebels. That kind of answers the question. Feels right.
Yeah.
Dragons aren't sent to present terms of peace, they're sent to destroy.
Then I believe we can fight.
He comments to the troops he wants you all taken care of. He asks uh, the entire unit to stop here and rest for the night because he wants to meet with you privately to plan and prepare and get as much information about their fortifications, their numbers, their temperament as possible, and then the march on their holdings. So with that, that's a scene. Yay!
Yay, we did a scene.
So let's start assigning some qualities. So something that we didn't have any die rolls, but are there any narrative points we want to spend to create fictional things in the world, or are there any qualities that we want to assign to ourselves that are the legendary tags?
Um,
I'm just going to use these green blocks on the side for legendary tags right now. If we
okay.
make other knights, we'll make other knights.
Yeah. Um, I feel like Jordan should get one that's like Taskmaster or something.
Yeah, or even something a little more poetic than that. I get that.
Like unceasing.
Like sleep is for the dead or something like that. I'm gonna call it sleep is for the dead.
Okay. I want to make a glaive. I want to make Tora's glaive that she does not have right now. She's using a spare, just like a spare weapon. Probably a sword there that somebody gave her, but I think her glaive was stolen in the coup in like a kind of, red wedding. They took all the. Oh, relentless is good. That's instead of sleep is for the dead, unless you really like sleep is for the dead. Norm suggested relentless.
Yeah, we'll switch it to that. I can use that for more things.
Yeah. But yeah, I think like in a Red Wedding kind of style, they took all the weapons. Um, and so Tora really wants her glaive back. I think it's a family heirloom. Um, I think it was given to her after she defeated the swarm. And I think it's said to have divine power. Um, so now I got to give it points, right? Well, I have to name it and
Well,
give it.
or there's another way you can do this as well.
Okay.
Rather than take a legendary quality right now, you could take those 3 narrative points as well as pull any from your pools to create this fictional thing.
Yeah,
Because you're going to get a
kind
tag.
of
Yeah.
what I wanted to do. So
Yeah.
I got to name it and then give it points. Um, or, so let's call it. I'm really bad at naming weapons. Cool pointy thing. Um, let's call it. I mean, is Calamity Bane really boring? Calamity's Bane. Is that like super boring?
It's not very flavorful, and and
Yeah,
here's what Jordan would say about that. He's like, "Oh, you're like the 19th family to
I
have
know,
Calamity's
right?
Bane." Oh, in
Yeah,
fact, I've
yeah,
got several of those. I've got a sword and an axe and a dagger.
yeah.
Um,
But like, but some kind of I don't know, like some kind of
think,
divine weapon that's like good at fighting against those monsters.
yeah, like so what's the colloquial lane term for one of those monsters? I think there's got to be some local thing, not calamity, not what's in the book, not what's in the legend, not what we would say, but those people. Like if you think about it, there's some people that live in the mountains. They might refer to giants as Fomorians, or they might refer to them as trolls, or they might refer to them as something else. Even though they're not actually trolls, they're not actually Fomorians, they're just giants. They have like a local name for
I
them.
think
So
they just call them the children,
okay,
which is why it's like call it naming. Oh, like I'm having trouble with names for weapons and children, but
they just call, what do they call their children then?
um,
The children. um,
I don't think they do. I think they
here's
have a
what
different name
just,
for their young.
here's what I was thinking. Yeah, that's gonna be
Okay.
complicated. The name that popped in my head was Spawn Breaker. Just there's the
Okay.
spawn. It's a spawn breaker. It's a glaive. Um, that's something that sounds hard hitting. If you wanted something prettier, more precise, Calamity's Bane sounds. I mean, if you want to use it, you can use it. It might be
Mhm.
simpler, even if it's generic. You can always rename it or give it another name
Yeah.
later if you'd like.
Wait.
Even if you just called it Tora's family weapon right now or family weapon,
Yeah.
that's good because you might sit there thinking about a name for 30 minutes and
Yeah.
never be
I mean,
happy
I
with it.
will.
Yeah.
Family weapon. I think is yeah, I think because
It might have five or
um
six different names that,
yeah.
it's referred to by different people.
Yeah, family weapon. So it's divine. So that's glory points or crown points.
I don't think it's a political weapon at all.
So
It's
glory
glory.
then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um yeah, so no crown. I mean, I think it has a little bit. Like I think it was important to steal this for the harbor to like have this powerful weapon against the lane because it's important
It,
for the lane house.
yeah, you can make that argument. It's just one of those things we got to think about fictionally. There might be it could be used
Okay,
that way.
yeah. Maybe so crown. I think that would still be more passion. Um
Glory.
no, 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 the family, the fact that it's important to the family.
Okay,
Because
your personal desire. I
yeah,
got it.
yeah,
Got
it's
it.
like it's a passion thing. So I'm gonna give it uh 2 passion points, and I'm going to give it 3 glory. So I'm gonna lose out of my pool. Um, 1 passion and yeah, 1 glory. That makes sense. Yes. Family weapon. We'll call it Tora's family weapon. Lane family. Yeah.
All right.
That's yeah, that's what I have. So now it's my turn to set a scene.
Yes. I don't see. Okay, there. I see your Lane family weapon.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna drag it over here just
Yeah,
so it
please
pops.
put it
Yeah, just where I can see it.
where you can
Uh,
see it. Yeah.
um,
Absolutely.
I need to
Uh
redesign this board at some point. Um, okay, so yeah, let's talk about the next scene. So, what do we want the next scene to be? Do you want to play out the scene where it's Jordan and Torah, or do you want to skip to where we arrive at the Shadow Grove?
yeah, I think I'd like to see how Jordan and Tora interact. Because I think there's been like it's a little bit like um even though Tora has been not well enough to, like has been too injured to move forward, like she and these survivors, because I think there are some Holloway survivors like that are part of this dragons unit, but there are also Lane survivors, and so she's been kind of rallying her people together uh to make an advance on it, and not expecting or not knowing if the crown could help at all. And so I think there's kind of like a, like when the federal law enforcement comes to town with the police department, there's like
Mm-hmm.
a bit of a,
Yeah.
Jordana's like, I'm taking over now, and Tora's like, no, you're not.
Oh, yeah, and Jordan would be very clear you were never in charge. Um, doesn't matter how long you lived on these lands, they are the crown's.
Yeah.
Which is kind of this weird thing where it's almost the party's playing because he has seen things out here and his opinion's changing, but maybe we'll find that on the scene. So, what question would we like to answer and what are the stakes?
um I think the question we want to answer is how, if and how Jordan and Tora can work together. And I think the stakes, I think it might have something to do with like morale in the army. Like the more united we are, the more effective we'll be. But the danger of the infighting is that like there will be people who feel conflicted, in like a mom and dad are fighting kind of way.
Um, okay. Yeah. This is a.
Well, I
We'll
mean,
see.
not like mom and dad are fighting, but like, but there's two, like they're both in the right, and there's people like, well, it's we should follow Tora because she's a Lane and this is Lane land. And then the people like, yeah, that's true, but
Yeah, I'll
you
give you.
know, Jordan is here with the crown. Um,
As far as I think most of that conflict might be with the Holloway survivors and Tora herself. The military unit that Jordan is leading there, they are literally just killers for the crown. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
that's
so
well, that's fine, but like I think it's like the cooperation of the people who have been on the inside,
yeah,
you
it,
know. So they might have the manpower, but like we have the intel, I guess.
yeah. So really, the question is, how many casualties will we suffer by not listening to Tora Lane? Because if we just go in there, we'll still probably emerge victorious, but we might there might be great losses.
Yeah, I think that's what's at stake. If they can't come to some kind of agreement, um, is that uh, yeah, just with communication breakdowns, there will be more people who die.
Mm-hmm.
Um, even though neither Torah nor Jordan wants that.
All right. So where are you going to meet with Jordan at?
Um, I think I think maybe in like there's a tent that Torah has been given as like kind of a war tent. It was a tent that had been like set up as a medical thing. Um, and it's just like where she sleeps and where she plans, and because she had to plan a lot of this from bed, um, while she was getting healed, or while she was healing. So I think somebody has just come to change her bandages, and she's like staring, like at a map of the lands on like kind of some kind of makeshift war table.
Okay. Um. So you're in bed?
No, she's not in bed. She's sitting up. But like they're just saying in the past,
Okay.
like she had, because they've had plans. She didn't think he was coming. So they've had plans to take uh,
Okay.
to take, to make an attack on their own that she has been planning since before she could get out of bed.
Okay. So Jordan arrives. Everyone stands at attention. Does Taurus stand at attention?
I think they're alone at this time,
Okay.
unless you want them to not be alone.
He was going to ask people to leave the room. Get it dramatic. Uh,
Um, maybe he comes in and
Because
yeah, there's like a few
here's what
people.
I'm explaining. If
Okay.
typically when people plan, there's people that need to realize the plan, or if she's
Well, I
contemplating it or revising it. I'm trying to see the scene.
yeah, sorry. I'm sorry. I was describing this like tent that she was in that she
Okay.
has been using as a hospital tent, as a place to sleep, as a war room. Um, it
Okay.
has been all of these things.
Okay.
So it can be a scene where they're planning and he asks everybody to leave. But I was kind of imagining it as like she was alone maybe right before a meeting was going to start and she was getting kind of her bandages changed one last
Because
time.
here's what I would see it as, and this is what we have to decide. So these knights have arrived. They would pitch their own tents, and they would set
Mm-hmm.
up their own plan, and they would meet
Mm-hmm.
as a military unit to talk about how it's going to go down. They wouldn't do it as an individual, and they'd probably send Alvin to go fetch you.
Mm. And then, but this is what the thing is that like she can't come. Maybe she didn't come to the meeting. He was like, oh, we're doing a war meeting. Come fetch you, and she didn't come because she was receiving medical attention. and
Okay.
someone was like, no, you can't come. And I think Tora was like, no, I'm receiving medical attention. Like, I'm not gonna.
Here's sort of the point I want to make, just
Okay.
so we can get into the story. Is
Yeah.
Jordan's intentions are he needs to know how Tora, if her and these Holloway, conscripts, hedge knights, etc., we're going to go attack and counterattack.
Yeah.
He's really curious how they would have done it. Um, because if someone's already planned a counterattack, he sees it as efficiency. If
Yeah.
there is a plan, talk about how you would modify your plan having 15 armed dragon knights of the mountain that can march in.
Absolutely. And he can come to her tent and talk to her about it.
Okay. Um, yeah. So that's what he would do.
Yeah. It's just what I'm saying is that, like, I think there's a little bit of, at least for Tora's side, like resentment that he's just kind of come to be like, oh yeah, I'm doing all of this, and she's not feeling it. So I think that's part of where the tension comes from. If they're going to work together, is um, kind of an unwillingness to listen.
So Jordan would arrive, and then of course Alvin would be there to see if you are able to receive him. So Alvin would probably make his presence known first, and like, Torlane, Torlane, are you in there?
Yes, come in.
I Alvin kind of comes in, straightens himself out. Is Torlane able to receive Sir Jordan Vespucci, the Dragon of the Mountain? He'd very much like to see you.
Why isn't he here?
Because if there's to be a rejection, it's supposed to land on me, and he will go out and do other things. He's a very busy individual. If you are not able to see him, he is currently taking care of other business, and he will continue to do so. But if you are able to see him, he will come immediately.
You always his errand boy.
Yes, I'm his squire. It's my job.
Well, tell him the next time he wants to speak to me, he should do it in person.
He would
But
very
I
much like to
am
speak to
willing.
you in person.
Then he shouldn't have sent you. Go get your master.
Well, this is a paradox. And yeah, Alvin goes and wonders because he's like, well, yeah, he's a very busy guy. Alvin comes muttering back to Jordan, and Jordan arrives immediately and forthright. And he sees the table that you have out. The esteemed Torlane, I have need for your wisdom and expertise in this matter. It has come to our attention that you were planning to lead a counter-strike on the Harpers at Shadow Grove. Is this correct?
Yes.
I was wondering if you'd be willing to march me through this plan, seeing how your exploits and honor and accomplishments in this region of the world are known and regarded throughout the land. I thought you would have invaluable insight, and I was wondering if we could supplement your forces on the attack.
I can show you where to put your people, yes.
They're not my people, they're the Crown's people.
It's not how they talk about you,
I
Dragon of the Mountain.
don't quite care what they talk about me. I have a question for you, Lane. When your lord issues a command, do you follow through?
Yes.
And do you do so with a overabundance of questions or debate or discourse, or do you follow through loyally?
What are you getting at, Sir Jordan?
You By answering with a question, you answer my question. I'm busy. My squire is my errand boy. There's nothing wrong with that. It's how work gets done. If you have a
You are
problem with
not my
Alvin, you
lord,
come.
Sir Jordan.
I beg to differ. I am the commanding officer of this situation. The Crown's authority trumps Lane's authority.
Tell me, what were your plans to get through?
My plan was to ask you, based on your expertise. That was our plan.
And
I
tell
literally did
me,
just that.
tell me, Sir Vespucci, do they teach you manners in the South?
No.
I understand. She'll
Sorry.
uh,
He's a dragon.
she'll because I'm very bad. Like I can't visualize it, but she'll talk through the plan
Yeah, it's fine.
with him, tell him, where to put his people, and how to supplement things, and then say, here in the North, knights speak to each other face to face as a show of respect. If you respect my name, if you respect what I've done, my reputation, I will ask you to speak to me in person first.
Sir Jordan Vespucci says, I will commit to speak to you in person first. However, it should not be the initial expectation. For a knight is not always available, just as you
If
yourself
you
could
were
not
not
have been available. I was not available, I was working.
if it was important to you, you would have made time. The fact that you sent somebody else shows me that you did not think it important enough.
It was important to check your availability rather than barge in and make assumptions.
So you let your squire barge in instead.
He did not barge in, he knocked before he entered.
And you could have knocked too, I'm sure.
We did not have a scheduled arrangement.
This is a war. There is no time for scheduled arrangements.
There's all
Tell me,
the
the
time.
demons you fight in the mountains, do they schedule appointments with you?
We schedule appointments with them. In combat, there are skirmishes and there are pitched engagements. Both have their time and their place. In camp, in peace, not under ambush, not under attack, we are allowed to operate out of order and schedule. I'd prefer to not make assumptions about you.
It's funny how you could have spent so much time in the North and know so little of our ways. Will you let me take the lead on this? You know that I'm best suited to it.
Tora Lane, you've already proven yourself incapable of holding a meeting without a bunch of contention. I would not trust you to lead these soldiers. I would not trust you to keep track of your own weapon. Have you seen it, by the way?
It was taken from me when they were running a sword through my gut. I'm sorry. What were you doing, Sir Vespucci?
Coming to your
my
aid.
People were dying.
We have housed your people for multiple winters in our mountains. Lest you forget it.
In Holloway Mountains.
Our mountains. There's some murmuring outside when that's said. Um, Jordan is respected in those mountains and is viewed as an honorary member of the house. I must take the lead, for I have been commanded by the crown. It is my job to put it out. But if you want the glory and you want to be called leader, fine, you lead. You will lead your
I
troops.
see. I see this is how you do things.
It's my job to do this. And it's my job to do it this way.
You're arrogant.
No, I have not said anything about myself. I am simply a disciplined knight that follows the orders the crown gives me, and not a...
The crown has never once cared about House Lane or what we do for the entire country. Forgive me if I don't trust the crown's intentions here.
Oh, well, when you... She was about to say something about Lucretia. Oh, yeah, when you bed Lucretia Vespucci and proposed to her for a hope at political gain.
Did he actually say that?
He wouldn't... I imagine she's a
I
cousin.
can't, I can't imagine he would besmirch the name of Lucretia Vespucci that way.
He views it more as an attempt by Lane to wed their way into the throne. At hopes to get something. Jordan, essentially, he puts his foot down. He's like, the crown has done more for your people than you will ever know. And the fact that any of you are alive today is completely by their grace. Life is hard in the north. I know it. The Holloway knows it.
The Holloways have their own troubles. Have you spent much time up here?
I've lived here for 7 years.
In the mountains. Have you spent much time here on Lane Land?
100%, and currently it's not Lane Land, it's Harper Land. Thank you, by the way. Yeah, he's exiting. He's exiting. Sorry. It's one of those scenes that's going to go around and around in a circle because they don't really know each other that well.
Yeah.
What happened there? As soon as you go, I want to lead this. That's his military unit, and you have a handful of Holloways, right?
Well, we have the plan, and we have the.
Yeah, but he's not. He totally can't. Yeah. He was asking for your suggestions and your advice.
Yeah.
But he can't hand over his military unit to you. For all he knows, you're a traitor.
He could.
It's hard because there's military protocol. If it was just a skirmish and he was one of the survivors, he might hand it over. But...
Absolutely. There's military protocol and stuff. But I'm going off of what we went with before, but this last session of this kind of deep resentment.
Yeah, totally allowed. And under certain circumstances, he would do that. But the way this scene has gone, there's a good chance Jordan is going to wait for everyone to fall asleep in camp, and he and the Dragon Guard are going to march on the sleeping Shadow Grove and kill everybody in their sleep. That's just what they're going to do. And it's not going to be pretty. And the way the story's going to go when the rest of the troops show up and it's a complete and total massacre where, they dropped in on a nascent sleeping house. He's going to be like, yeah, we presented them the terms and they tried to resist. But there was no resistance. They didn't have a chance. Mm-hmm. It's going to be more of an assassination. And I want to say that's exactly how it goes. And I want to use whatever legendary qualities would be given to me to make an event
Okay.
called uh, the Burning of Shadow Grove, which,
Oh shit.
yeah, like just burn to the ground every last one of them. Um, and they were taken out. And
Was
it's
Shadow Grove literally burned?
oh yeah, 100%.
Okay.
And he didn't burn it, but there are members of House Holloway that are in House Harper. They set it all on fire. They're just like, we're burning this land rather than let you take it from us. And he's like, well, that's what happens. So, the burning of Shadow Grove. I'm going to no glory points. It's all crown. It's all politics.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to spend the 3 points for my legendary qualities. So it's one of those things. You'd wake up in the morning. They're not there. They marched all night. They forced marched, and these are the kind of soldiers they are. They'll just be up for 4 days and still fight. And I think I'm going to spend 3 glory points. Uh, and I'm going to put the Dragon Guard, which are the those are the soldiers that he is currently commanding. So yeah, that's what's happened. So the next
Okay.
scene might either be their arrival, unless you don't want to go there. You might be going someplace else.
I mean, she needs to get her glaive back. So here's the question: does he come back? Do they march back to the camp and throw the glaive into his face?
No, Alvin has it.
Okay. So Alvin throws the glaive into his face.
Why would he give it back? She'll get it back eventually.
All right. All right.
Maybe.
What tag am I giving myself? um stubborn. I think proud. Does that make sense to you?
Uh, yeah, but I don't think it was necessarily pride, unless it was just pride by wanting to be the leader. I mean, it's one of those things. I'd add things like glory hound, etc. Why was it so important to her to lead the attack?
I think it was important to her to lead the attack because
It's her lands.
it's her lands, it's her
That is,
people, and
I give
and
it proud. Yeah.
yeah, and then just some asshole comes in and kills everybody in their sleep. There were probably captives there. There were,
Well, it's not like we went through the prisons and butchered them through the bars.
I mean, not all captives were kept in prison. Um, yeah, so.
And I'm actually gonna say that I burned the relentless tag to make the dragon guard
Okay.
and add my glory points back. So what's the next scene? So sort of what's the aftermath of that?
Um, I mean, Tora's pissed. I think House Lane is generally pissed, because word got out that it was this like lack of cooperation that Vespucci and Holloway came onto Lane land without a Lane there, and caused a fight that burnt the sacred grove to the ground. Um,
Well,
like Lane was already
now
not, there
remember
was
the
already,
fiction. We've established
yeah.
fiction. So who was the member of House Lane who got married? It was a soldier who rebelled against the crown, who
Mm,
declared it an independent free state. So we might want to think about that. So it was actually someone that we established who dishonored House Lane and completely rebelled. So there
yeah.
might be some skew there. But think about that side of it, unless like our characters insulting each other, because sort of in the grand scheme of the game, you had a rebel from House Lane who murdered members of House Lane and House Holloway during this wedding,
Mhm.
called it a free land. They killed all the guests. Like they
Yeah.
weren't good people.
No, no. I think it's more about. I
And
think
it's
it's,
not Lane lands. It was Harper lands very specifically.
but the Harpers took the lands from the
Well,
Lane.
we said it was a spot where Holloway and Lane weddings occur.
Oh yes, yes. Okay.
Shadow of the Mountain. So it's kind of this
Shadow.
weird
Yeah.
holy place.
I mean, I still imagine that the Holloways and the Lanes would be very upset about the burning of Shadow Grove.
Yes, everyone should be. And it was a member of House Harper that burned it. It wasn't
Hmm.
Serge Jordan.
But I think there was probably, like word got back that like there was a plan, and then the Dragon Guard just marched in on it. So there's probably some kind of like mixed opinions about what should have happened. And if it could have been done, and why was Tora Lane had a plan, why was Tora Lane and her people,
So
survivors, why weren't they
so here's the deal.
there?
So is Tora going around being mouthy about it? Because she would be the only person to know that they went there at night without her and did it. The people from House Holloway aren't gonna speak ill of the Dragon Guard.
Yes, I think she wouldn't be mouthy about it, but I think she would go home and someone would say, "Where's your glaive?" And she would explain what
Oh,
happened.
yeah, yeah, and then it spreads from there, and the rest comes out, and it's one of those things. She's honest, right? So
Yeah.
she's going to tell the truth. It's like, yeah, well, we were going to go to battle. In fact, I told them how they needed to fight, and they just went in there at night. They stole my glaive. The whole Shadow Grove got burned down, and it's
Hmm.
all that guy's fault.
Yeah. And I mean and she literally just tells you know, probably like her probably like her father or something. Um and and that's kind of, is Alvin also a Vespucci?
No,
Is Alvin a hallway? That kind of makes sense.
Alvin's a freaking Lane.
No.
Yes,
No.
and
Oh God, I hate
yeah,
him.
that's what makes it the worst. And it's one of
Yeah.
those things where it's like, and there was this little rat Alvin, and your father's like, Alvin Lane? What? Ah, yeah,
Mhm.
he's like your second cousin. Second cousin? Ugh. Everyone always has bad rascals in the family.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, yeah, Alvin Lane. So yeah, I think like she would have told her father, and it would have kind of gone from that. And I feel like Alvin probably is mouthy.
Put it this way, I think Alvin's one of the few people that can keep a secret, but no one would expect him to. So if anything does get around, all the fingers point at him.
Yeah. Would Alvin brag about having this this Lane weapon?
Um, he would definitely wear it proudly at all times.
Yeah, so I think it would probably like raise some questions about why Alvin Lane has Tora Lane's glaive.
She most certainly lost it.
Um, yeah. So I think that's probably what's been that's what's happened. So the question is, do we want to do a time skip at all, or do we want to um
So we need to talk about. Uh, so, what's the fallout of this?
so this is the thing about when we created these houses, that they're very weak. So there isn't much that Lane can do on its own
No,
against the crown.
nor should they necessarily. However, the crown's not really in charge. There's a council. And it's one of those things, there are members of House Lane that sit on that council.
Mm-hmm.
So a trip to Capital and kind of
Well,
explain.
Gerald Lane, because what they were all on, um, they were all on the council. Didn't Bruce
Well,
Holloway invite all of them?
didn't they get married and they lived in the north?
Yeah, it's true. Um,
So I think what we need here is, uh, I think for all intents and purposes, the rebellions. Well, we need to talk about the fallout of the rebellion. So, did the rebellion spur others to, uh, or maybe we need to identify the root cause of the rebellion, and so we need to have a scene, and maybe you play an NPC in this scene.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, I was
because
gonna
here's what I'm
say.
thinking. Because people don't just rebel, and there's this new religion that has sprung up. I think, and it's described as like this dark, overpowering thing. That's the way the King is Dead described it in the flavor text. I think this is where Jordan is going to come into contact with that religion. He's essentially investigating the countryside and he's trying to learn what the root cause of the rebellion was. So we'll set a scene. And
Hmm.
the uh, question's going to be is essentially what prompted Harper's rebellion? Because they rebelled. They claimed land. They claimed independence. They defamed and put a mark on two noble houses. They caused the destruction of a major sacred site. Why? In order to set this scene, Jordan is going to be investigating those that were closest to the family that refused to attend the wedding. And he's going to start with the Holloway side. So he's going to be in the lower hills of the mountains. Uh, he's going to be investigating an individual. And this was going to be a woman named Irma.
Okay.
And Irma is going to be Irma Holloway. And Irma Holloway knows the truth. And then the scene is the stakes are whether or not Jordan can learn the truth of Irma, from Irma. And the
Okay.
question is what caused the rebellion. She certainly knows. So you can play her. And I imagine this scene takes place somewhere Irma feels safe.
Um,
So where would she feel safe?
I think probably in our home.
Okay. What type of woman is she? Is she a woman of status? Is she
I think
a member of the peasantry?
Irma is probably like a servant of somebody, and that's why she wasn't at the wedding, like a high level maid of or something.
Yeah, maybe like within the house, she's essentially like She's the housemaiden, essentially. She is the servant in charge of the house.
Hmm.
All of it. Uh, so she's in charge of the entire house staff. And so, uh, while she's associated with House Holloway, uh, we will say that she is a Jagger. Irma Jagger. So I'm just going to add her. Alright, Irma.
All right.
Alright, so we'll begin. We are already in the house. Jordan Vespucci has already been received, and there will be a second in the scene. The noble of Holloway is here. This is going to be let's give it a good name. It's going to be Orla Holloway.
Okay.
I've been using Scottish and Irish names for
Yeah, for Holloway.
yeah. So Orla, who is a cousin of Bruce, cousin of the king, and so I was meeting with Orla. I was going over. I essentially, I'm gonna burn some passion points, all three,
Okay.
and it's going to be uh, Jordan's gift to Orla. I presented her with something,
Okay.
and something to really wow her and get her on my side to assist in the interrogation of Irma. So we're meeting with Orla. What should this gift have been? What would really knock Orla's socks off?
Something that you can only get in the South.
I think. Hmm. Should this have been something that I commissioned from the Merciers, or House Vespucci?
I think this is a Vespucci thing.
Okay, so it's something ancient. Um, it is a silver crest of the king, and so it's this massive, beautiful silvered coat of arms of House Holloway that was commissioned especially by the Dragon of the Mountain for Orla to keep present in her home as a distinguished cousin of the king, and it is a personal gift that the house may stand strong. And our scene begins. So Orla's there, and Orla's mostly in the background. Either of us at any point can pull her into the foreground. And she has summoned Irma to her drawing room, essentially. And as Irma enters, there is Sir Jordan the Tall. Fully plated. Haven't described as such. One of his hands is gauntleted, and it's not the size of a usual gauntlet. It's larger.
Like a big Ultron glove.
Yes. And so, so Jordan stands as Irma enters.
Yeah, and Irma will kind of like curtsy very deeply, like, hello, hello, sir.
Irma, you, I am in need of your assistance, and I was wondering, would you care to join us for some refreshment?
No, I'm all right, sir.
Oh, come now, and he invites her in, and I think this is actually going to be a dashing check.
Okay.
Um, the current difficulty is 2. I don't think we haven't set Irma up to be exceptionally difficult, but I'm still going to
Well,
have to spend 2 dashing points
yeah, I think she's
to make it
scared
automatic.
mostly, you know.
Yeah. So we invite her in, and there's like chocolate covered strawberries brought up from the south that we had iced and preserved. There's uh, a special vintage wine. There's a cheese plate of a variety of cheeses, and it's just like, Irma, you're our guest today. I don't visit often, and today uh, I'm here to see you specifically.
Uh, What do you need me for, sir?
Um, Sit, if you will. And he motion on a couch.
As you command, sir. And she'll sit.
I imagine at this point Orla, who's on the other side of the couch, kind of slinks and comes into frame and is close to, like, elbow to elbow, and then Jordan sits, and it's almost comical. I imagine this is like a very nice, posh, like, table between us, nice chairs. I'm just like full dirty plate from the mountain, rugged. Um, you were an invited guest to the wedding of Lane and Holloway some months ago. It's been a couple months. I've been investigating this, and I've been led to her.
Oh, um, uh, not really. They wanted me to help with the wedding. You see.
What particular help did they need from you? I mean, obviously, you're a skilled planner, you're a master administrator, your managerial experience as well. There's a reason why Orla pays you so well. Orla's like, I do? I'm like, you do!
Uh, oh well. Uh, the that little hallway bride. Uh, she she likes the way I do her hair.
Ooh. Do you do Orla's hair?
Yes, sir.
It looks marvelous, and Orla's like showing off her hair. It's like, yes, she's the best at doing hair. I need to know why you didn't attend.
Well,
And Orla's like kind of put off too. Why didn't you attend?
I well, you weren't going, Mum, and
I wasn't invited.
exactly. I couldn't leave you behind. I'm not her maid. I'm your maid.
I'm going to attempt a cerebration check. Um, I
See if
believe,
I'm
well, I
lying.
believe you've been invited to other weddings without Orla that you have attended, and that you are known for doing some hair. Um, so this is going to be a difficulty 2. Um,
I feel
I'll
like it's a
just
more difficult because what does Jordan know about hair at weddings?
It's not about hair at weddings. It's that I've been investigating you for 3 months and asking
Okay, that's fair.
around. Yeah.
Fair.
So because I don't know anything about hair at weddings, but I do know you, and I've spent great expense where I've spent this elaborate gift so that I can romance Orla later. But it will never work between us. She's too needy. Um, um, yeah, so I'm going to spin the celebration. I'm going to explain. You attended uh, cousin Connor Lane's wedding, did the hair of his bride. You were present at the wedding of Lucretia and Gerard, and Orla did not attend that. You've It's not uncommon for you to attend weddings.
I just got a bad feeling about it.
What was the source of the bad feeling, or could you describe the feeling to me? And I also know that. Here's the question: is Irma a superstitious and religious girl?
Um,
And by that I mean, has she seen some of the scary stuff in Holloway, or any of the stuff of the new religion? This is essentially what I'm trying to discern.
yeah, yeah. Um, I think, I mean, Jordan doesn't know this, but I think she does has started worshiping and when they worship the children, I don't think it's the children of the calamity. I don't think it's like a you know Cthulhu like rise to power and become amazing. It's like
That's
a
fine.
fear-based worship, like we must appease them so that they let
Yeah,
us live.
yeah.
Um
So here's okay. So why didn't she? Okay, so what I'm thinking is the new religion is not the source of the rebellion. That's what I'm thinking in my head because she didn't attend, and
Actually, I think
because if she's part of that religion, she might have gone if that was the source. Like
I
if they were trying to rise
think
to power.
it was because no, I think maybe they were trying to like by fighting against the monsters, like Lane and Holloway are angering them. And so I think this was like a kind of plot to like damage, to like cut back on the numbers of the people who would who would anger the children. So
Ooh.
it was like a cleansing.
Oh, that's very, very clever too. That's we're gonna see if I can find that out. Irma can't be held responsible for this. This is gonna get into a weird plot where Irma is going to like fake indoctrinate Jordan. He's gonna infiltrate the cult, and then they're gonna figure out he's just like a spy, and then they're gonna murder him.
Oh my
Goodbye,
god.
Jordan. Yeah, well, he needs to get to the bottom of it. And he doesn't have many allies yet. The closest thing he has to it is an old lush that he bought an expensive gift for.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
he could have had an ally if he was just a little bit nicer, but
well, that's got to be their first introduction. If she wasn't so power hungry.
she
Uh,
was power hungry. She just
she
didn't
wanted
want
to
you
lead
walk.
everyone else's military unit. I need
Yeah.
to be in charge. Guess she coughs up blood. It's like,
Yeah.
no, just let us do our thing.
The thing you didn't know what to do because you needed my help. Anyway, it's fine.
He didn't want to offend her, so he wanted to ask her for advice first.
Uh,
And that's yeah, but then it was just like, oh, here's the advice and I get to lead. It's like, no, I'm not allowed to do that. You can't drive my car.
you're not on my insurance policy.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
this is sort of the direction it's going. So we need to see if I can discern, because you and I know that like that whole wedding's almost like a setup by the cult. It's like these people are going to cause problems, so we need to cleanse it. So they're going to join together. Then they're going to
I don't
rebel.
think the wedding was planned as like a setup, but I think once the wedding was called, um, there were whispers.
Okay.
And
So
I think there were whispers, and I think House Harper was going to be a house of this cult. Um,
well, that's
that's
what I
why
was
they're
think. Well, that's what I was thinking, but I'm trying to figure out
yeah,
exactly why they rebelled. Because if it,
because they rebelled because House Holloway and House Lane were 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 killing the children of Calamity. Were fighting against it,
okay, I got
and
it now.
so they wanted to. They thought, well,
They
if we
rebelled for
stop the
religious reasons.
murder, then
So okay, let's see if we can figure this out in the fiction. So, um, Jordan needs to figure out how he can convince Irma to talk. He's already tried to loosen her up.
Should have bought something fancy for
Well, he can make promises, and he may or may not keep them. And he's here's what he's. So Irma Jagger. I'm not going to do it, but Jordan's going to do it.
Okay.
He produces a beautiful silver and gold tiara. A tiara that is of extremely fine craft. A tiara that has what we'd refer to as calamity gems on it. Gems of the children that she would recognize. Oh, I almost forgot, Irma. I bring a gift for you. May I place it on your head? And he very gently uh,
No,
place.
no,
No, no, no, no. It's
no,
yours.
please, please.
He's going to try to persuade her, and I
This is
believe,
hard. She's not worthy.
yeah. So the most we can do is double it. So it'll go from 2 to 4. I'm going to spend 2 points of dashing and roll a d10. The rolls go from 0 to 9, and that's a. Huh. I can just roll a d9, I guess, if it goes from 1 through 9. I got an 8, so I
Okay.
overwhelmingly succeeded. And it's one of those things where,
I think there was probably some force involved.
no, I'm using dashing, not valor, right?
Okay.
So I don't think so. I think it's more suave than that, where it's almost one of those things where she stops for a second. It's one of those things he places his non-gauntleted hand on hers and holds it and waits for her to relax for a second. And he looks into her eyes. This is clearly a night. This is meeting.
I don't think she's charmed into it. Like she's not worthy. I think it's probably a class thing. Like
Well,
she's being
hold on.
no, because
Hold.
I don't
I
agree
know,
with
but
it.
here's the thing: if I'm introducing things into the fiction, I'm introducing the tiara as the device that would persuade her, or at least get her to talk.
Mhm.
If I've introduced this NPC, and we're working on it, I understand we're both telling stories here, and it's okay to not agree. But it's a scene with Jordan with an NPC I introduced and a plot device that I introduced, and I need to figure out what the yes is as opposed to all the no's,
That's
because
fair.
the role is I succeed at doing the thing, and I already
Yeah.
allowed it to be made difficult more so than it was. So I got to figure out what the yes is. It's one of those things where it's like, just relax for a second. This is a gift, and even if she takes it and says I can't wear this and starts explaining the lore why, I need it to be that. It can't just be no and she runs away, right?
Okay, okay,
She
that's fair.
need. I'm
I
trying
think
to
she
loosen
just
her
didn't.
lips.
I just think she didn't want to wear it. She's like, so maybe he tries to like put it on her head, and she'll like put her hands kind of over it and
Or
say,
yeah,
you know,
she
this is lovely, but I I'm not worthy to wear this. But
yeah, and so the scene essentially is the whole purpose of introducing this isn't to put a crown on her head. It's to get her to talk and tell everything that she knows. So now, in the fiction, what we'd established is Jordan now knows why they rebelled and why House Harper was formed, and how there's sort of this there's a sect and a faction out here in the north that are really more interested in kind of conserving these children than fighting them.
mhm.
And that could cause some issues with House Lane and House Holloway.
Well, yeah, it's not conserving, it's appeasing. Um like that's there it's not so much that they like
Well, they took out House. Well, they have issues with House Lane and House Holloway killing them, right?
yeah, yeah, but
That's why I'm saying
out of
conserving.
yeah, it's not out of like, oh, we must keep them alive. It's just we can't piss them off. It's the same
Okay.
outcome, but different like motive.
Okay. So that's essentially where that goes. So I'm going to advance the clock and tick the clock. However, I imagine where this goes is Irma, after spilling the beans, delivers the crown to whoever her superiors are in that faith. And it's like,
Hmm.
hey, yeah, you've got a certain Ser Jordan Vespucci. That's the idiot who was responsible for killing House Harper. Just kind of
Hmm.
like, that's the guy, and he robbed their bodies, and he is responsible for the burning of the grove and all that. So that's kind of how
Yeah.
I envision that being played.
Okay. Okay. Um,
So then
yeah.
it would be the final scene of this House Harper's rebellion. So this is where we kind of put a knot on it. So
Yeah.
it might be,
I mean, what else do we want to answer?
well, there's a lot. So now that we know the root cause, this faith was the root cause, we know that Jordan's been made an enemy of them. This is kind of the tying together. So, and let's walk through our scenes logically. There was, how is the crown going to handle House Harper? Obviously, they were going to kill them. There was, could Tora Lane and Jordan work together to deal with the rebellion? They couldn't, for various reasons. What was the root cause of the rebellion? The root cause has to deal with this new faith. And then, so the last question to answer is, how does the faith respond to the crown's viciousness? How do they retaliate to the crown? It could be an assassination attempt. It could be the establishment of a building. It could be a natural disaster. Who knows?
Um, so we've decided that whatever's in House Holloway is not the like whatever's in those mountains is not the children of the calamity.
No.
Okay. Um, so I'm either thinking that there is some kind of natural disaster that brings more people to the faith because of the like and they say, oh, it's the children retaliating against the killing of House Harper, the massacre of House Harper.
Yes. So
Or there is an attack on, there is an attempt on Jordan Vespucci specifically.
I think there is a natural disaster and the people need to flee. Uh, One of the mountains. I think one of the mountains like erupts, and it's
Well, but
it's
that's the thing. If it's the mountains erupting, it's not the children, right?
well, think of it this way. It could be like,
Okay.
and it could be the magic's throwing a tantrum. And it could be that the children are now possibly going to come into contact with what's in the mountains, causing even
Mm-hmm.
more problems.
Yeah, because I imagine there's some kind of like just awful like magic bullshit, some kind of like evil dark magic. That is what these monsters are coming from. So
I think what's going to happen is this is going to be a.
I think maybe some of the monsters just overrun house, like get into the mountains.
The mountains are very defensible. I like the idea of a big disaster where like people have to escape an exodus, and this is like Jordan's position. Like he's been
Yeah.
told to hold this mountain. If that mountain collapses and erupts and it's full of new monsters and things like that, and he has to flee back to capital, like because his mountain's gone, it's like, well, now you have no purpose. Get out of here, Jordan. I
Yeah,
like.
I think maybe I don't. I think maybe it's not because I feel like it's too much to add in new other kinds of monsters. But maybe it's like a rock slide or like an avalanche or something. Like,
That's what I'm saying, and not necessarily new monsters. And we haven't really talked in specifics. It's just kind of
mhm.
like there's there's things in the mountains that weren't there before. There's
Okay.
fires erupting where there shouldn't be fires. There's confusion among the people and sort of disarray.
Yeah.
And we don't know what's causing this. It's
Yeah,
not.
and maybe there have been sightings of children. Maybe a new kind of child has appeared that they've never seen before.
And essentially, the way this scene plays out is it plays out kind of like our battle scenes, where we're just going to pick four key events, like highlights from the montage of the people escaping. So uh, the first escaping is, I think what it is the rocks begin to fall from above, and the people below are trying to escape. And this is a test difficulty. Whoop, let me move that up. It's a difficulty 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, difficulty 6.
Okay.
So do you want to roll for that just to see if they actually I called it, so I'll roll.
Yeah.
So and I can spend some of my points. I'm going to spend valor points. I can spend up to 3. I'm going to spend 3. Ugh, I don't want my people to die. We need 4 successes. So an 8 plus 3, an 11. I needed a 6. So the people, even though the rocks are falling, there are some casualties, but it's not as bad as it could have been. They're able to get into their defensible structures and prepare for an exodus. So what's the next big dramatic thing that happens as the mountain rebels?
Um, I want to say that uh, that Tora and Host Lane come um, just to assist with the exodus. Like they come, they bring supplies, they bring aid. They're like first, because this has probably happened before. Like like this kind of emergency response. There was some kind of signal um, happened because they're the houses that are closest together. So I think House Lane arrives
What's
with aid.
Okay, so House Lane arrives with aid, but what would stop them from getting there? Because you're going to have to roll, because this is a montage scene.
Oh yeah, it's a
Is it
monster
the
scene.
monsters?
Yeah, I think
Do
it
you
is.
see
I
their
think it's
overrun?
monsters.
Yeah. So they're going to have to make either a gallant charge against them or find a way to circumvent them. So it's a roll, difficulty 6 for Tora
All
and
right,
House
I will
Lane.
use 3 of my valor points.
Cutting through them.
I have so many valor points. Yeah, so that's good. I get that. That's an 8.
All right. So describe how Tora and House Lane cut through swaths of these monsters.
Um, I think what we see is like the monsters like heading towards this like camp of refugees, and people are like, "Oh no, what are we gonna do?" And they're all really worried. And then there's like a Riders of Rohan um, and I did, but they're not on horseback. Um, it's just like this like crowd of angry uh, of lane soldiers just cutting down all of this all of these monsters. And in the middle um, you see Tora, who then runs into the mountains.
All right. Um, in this scene, Alvin has been knocked down by a large monster and has lost hold of Talon, the Lane family glaive. Um,
I did
and
that because geese.
I love that. Freaking geese. Sorry. They've been running amok. They're getting bigger too, the little ones.
Oh yeah, they're so cute.
As Tora arrives. She's there to witness Jordan pick up the glaive from the ground and is going to slash the monster in two up the middle, unless he's too late, and that monster puts its claws through Alvin's throat. So Alvin is essentially
Oh
the stake.
no,
Um,
Alvin! I
so
hate you, but I don't want you to die.
yeah, so it's going to be a difficulty 6, and Jordan uses 3 points of valor. I got it, just barely. Met it right on the nose. Slashes it. As Tora comes through, he tosses the glaive to her and says, "This belongs to you," and kind of gives a scolding look at Alvin, who like shrugs. This has been a point of contention where he's like, "You stole her weapon." "I didn't steal it. I looted it. Looters rules." And it's just like, "You need to return that." "No, no, no. They're too hard to find her in the north." Yeah. So her weapon has been. So now, whenever we get to the final roll of a montage scene, or a final roll of the game, which is what we're coming up on,
Yeah.
difficulty doubles.
Okay.
But you have the opportunity to spend like your tag, like your proud tag, if it applies, to reduce it by half. So what is the cool final moment going to be of this confrontation?
I think it's like Jordan just won't fucking leave
The stakes are survival.
the mountain, and everybody's gone, but like there's something keeping Jordan there even though everybody's gone. What is it?
All right. Uh, you notice the gauntlet on his hand heats up super, super, super bright red, and it's shaking, and he grabs it with his bare hand and pulls off the burning gauntlet, scalding it. And you notice he has like a scaly dragon's claw where a hand would be.
Oh shit.
Yes. And
Yona
yeah.
of the Dawn shit.
Yeah, I know, right? And so he has that, and he's just like, "I'm being told to remain here."
By who?
The old ones. We'll figure out what the name. He's not able to answer. So how are you going to overcome this? Are you going to cut off his arm? No.
No. I think there's like some kind of like monster kind of swooping in for him while he's like distracted by his like hand and this voice telling him to stay. And she just kind of like, I don't think this is the part of the role. This is just because it's cool. She just like destroys this monster with like
that is part of the role. What's your role?
And then no, she's gonna grab his other arm. Or actually, no, I think she grabs the fucking burning dragon hand, and yanks him, like out before it collapses.
Okay. So the stakes are Jordan's life. Difficulty. You could use proud here. Proud.
Can I
applies.
say that the stakes aren't Jordan's life, but the stakes are that Tora and Jordan. Well, that Tora and Jordan get trapped.
Be trapped. Yes, that's a good compromise.
All right. So difficulty 12. Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. I'm wondering how I can use proud.
You could just spend proud and it'll give you 3 points to your roll.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be like.
Normally it has to be match, because proud, it's one of those things where, you're a proud warrior, or maybe you're putting your pride aside.
Yeah, I think there's a point of pride for her till not for no casualties. And like and she wants to be the better person, even though, you know, Jordan Vespucci has a terrible reputation in the North and in House Lane, kind of from everybody's
Why?
sides.
I don't know if we can put that into the fiction without spending points.
Really? Well, we kind of talked about that, like he was, you know, when she went home and they were like, oh, it was all
Oh,
his fault,
yeah.
and
We'd
House
have to
Harper.
spend points to make that like a thing. Uh,
Okay,
it's
I thought
it's
we because we had just kind of like said that, you know, people
but
know that
to make it a
it's his
terrible
fault.
yeah,
Okay, okay,
for
not a
him to have
terrible.
blame, yeah, but to be like, oh, he's the awful Jordan
Well, no, but
Vespucci.
like, at least not a terrible reputation, but like he's not. I mean, especially in House Lane, they're not super happy with him. Um, uh, you know, and
Yeah,
he's
it's tough because his cousin married Gerard, and it's
okay.
tough.
Fine,
I'd say
she's
this:
not happy with him.
it's a very contentious. Or we'll put this: he's a very contentious and debated figure,
Yeah,
depending on who you're friends with. He's someone everyone argues about. It's kind of like
yeah,
when I grew up, I lived like right in the spot between two pro sports teams, and everyone fought over them. Like, this is the
yeah.
great team.
Um, yeah. So I think it's that kind of like he's a controversial figure, and like Tora herself, like really wouldn't rather help this guy because like what has he done for her? Um,
No,
but she, um, she's gonna she can't let anybody die. Nobody has, she's never had a casualty on one of these aid runs before, and she's
right.
not about to let it be this guy. Um,
So
so
Proud will
that
add 3.
we'll add
It's a dashing
three.
roll, though.
It's a dashing roll.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I spend dashing as well as proud?
Yes. Up to
Okay.
3 points.
Up to three. So I'll add another three. So I've brought it down by 6. So now my roll is 6. I didn't do it. They're trapped in the
Yeah,
mountain.
it's one of the kind of crumbles around us, and I imagine like
How does Jordan save Tora from being crushed?
oh I think it's one of those things where as the stones are falling, we're gonna spend 3 glory points to fiction in Jordan's
Weird dragon hand.
wings. He sprouts
What?
dragon wings. Yeah,
What?
yeah, and it's one of those things that avoids the rock. Yeah, he just kind of like grab you
What?
and
It's
yeah,
what?
he's anime AF. He's
I
just
can't like okay, I was like, okay, dragon hand, sure, let's go for it. I think
right.
you have to spend points for a dragon hand before you spend points for wings.
Well, it would just be his dragon lineage.
I don't know if I could go with wings. I know we were going to talk
Why
about
not?
magic and stuff, but I don't.
They're
I don't
short
know if
form. It's like an Azamar or there's that thing in Elder Scrolls
I'm.
Online where you get wings for a second.
I've.
Maybe that's how she envisions it, and it's not. We'll actually put it as a dragon
Like maybe
curse,
he
not
just like
lineage.
maybe he just like jumps really high. Like he's a Captain America. Like he's super strong and super good at jumping, and it looks like he's flying, but he doesn't actually fly
Why can't I have wings for a second? They come and
because
they go. It's an
I
anime
can't.
thing.
I don't know if I could go there. It's so okay. No, if you want wings, I'll let you have wings. It's just
Just
very.
short term.
It's just extremely out there.
Yeah.
This was so low magic before. Now,
Sorry, Norm
now
Crit
you just
evolves into
have
Mary
fucking
Sue.
wings.
Well, I had to think about it. I didn't want to just be cliche and be like, oh yeah, he shields over, he holds up his shield, or he pulls us into a cave. I think I get us into a cave, but it's just gonna be kind of like It's the dragoning. Jordan's dragoning, and he just kind of like, and just
Oh my
uh,
god.
they're it's very very brief, and it's not even they're not like physical. We'll say they're kind of almost like spectral wings, right?
Yeah.
So that it's
Yeah.
like a spell
Yeah, okay.
that work.
Okay, I can go there.
I like
Yeah.
this freaking leathery and scaly.
I just imagine just like, appear out of his
Well,
back, like
it happened. That's how it worked in Escaflowne. I loved it. Like out of nowhere, like they're about to die, and Vaughn just sprouts wings and flies, and it's like, whoa.
he would have to have like wing slots in his plate armor, like
Not necessarily. Who says he's
just
armored and back? He's got a
busting.
cape. Yeah. In the
I think spectral wings are cooler,
yeah,
personally.
that's what I think he does. They're kind of like these burning spectral wings too, where it's just like,
Oh, like fire, just like
yeah,
big fire wings.
yeah, and he just kind of like scoops you up, and we get into a cave, an open cave, and you can just see the devastation below as these monsters overrun the town. And at least you have your glaive back.
Yeah.
And after doing that dragoning, it's enough to cause Jordan to pass out, I think.
Oh my
Like, it's one of
god.
those things where it's like, he spent his final thing, and that's the end of session 1 of Unrestful
Yeah.
Hearts, where,
Cool.
yeah, so Harper's Rebellion. It started with the playing of a tarot card. The tarot card caused a weird thing. Apologize for coming off as contentious at any points during this, but it's one of those things where we have to have conversations to
Yeah, yeah.
figure it out where everything's going,
No,
uh,
no,
in order to tell the best story.
I didn't feel contentious at all. I mean,
Um,
we argued, but like,
well, we have to make our points,
yeah.
and it's I'm going to minimize this, but we reset the rebellion clock, but you notice the Inquisition clock has been sneaking up each
Yeah.
phase.
Yeah, it totally has.
And, whoop. Sorry, not everyone could see in the Roll20 where we're doing all this cool stuff. Um, but essentially, we've added a bunch of little things to the story so far, from Irma Jagger and Orla Holloway. The idea that there's a dragon guard out there. There's the burning of the Shadow Groves. Oh, and we both get legendary qualities after that.
There's a literal dragon.
I don't know when and
Um,
why I came up with that. There was some point where we were talking, and I was just like, I wanted to be like handsome, like Cecil from Final Fantasy, but have like a dragon hand. Just one dragon hand.
oh my
I don't know
god.
why.
Have you been watching Yona of the Dawn?
No.
Because you should. But there's a dude with a dragon hand
Yeah,
who kind
so
of looks a little bit like Cecil from Final Fantasies.
we have it. So this is going to be legendary quality. So what's one we give Jordan? Or
I
we
don't
can just
know,
say not
fucking
him.
a dragon.
We're gonna reset one of his pools up to 3 instead, because we added the dragoning.
Yeah.
We're gonna set up his.
Is it a passion or glory?
What we're gonna do is we're gonna add 2 to passion, 1 to glory. I've spent lots of glory points so far. Um,
Mhm.
we'll save 1. Nah, we'll put them all in passion, and then that'll cause me to spend more to that.
Make
Did I
things
spend?
more
Okay,
passionate.
Jordan's gift to Orla. Sorry. Yeah. Well, there's a fancy crest for House Holloway out there. It was a
Yeah.
gift.
Um. All right. Oh, and I spent proud.
I liked the idea though of Jordan taking like the wedding tiara, and he's been holding on to it.
Yeah. But I just imagine her being like, I can't wear this because I'm not
No, no, no.
worthy. Like bad shit's gonna happen.
Yeah, yeah.
Um.
I should have been clear on this tiara is gonna get us to the root of the matter. It's gonna get her
Yeah.
talking.
Yeah. All right, Tora. What do we have to say about lovely Tora? I feel like Tora didn't do much to get a legendary quality this
Then
time.
reset. Give yourself 3 points to one of your
Yeah.
narrative pools. I would call, I there's these things. Think about, the dramatic arrival The
Yeah.
rescuer.
Yeah, I guess that like maybe um I need a word that isn't savior, but means savior. Uh,
So, uh, rescuer, liberator, deliverer.
uh,
Um,
yeah, I like deliver, maybe.
yeah, they have the word salvation, guardian, preserver, hero,
Uh, friend in need. I like that.
friend in need. That would
Mm-hmm.
imply that you were in need.
True, true, true. Or like, I think what it means is like friend in need. Um,
Mm,
but
gosh.
let's go with go with defender. Uh, deliverer. No, I like that one. Let's go with deliverer. Deliverer. Yeah. Okay. So I guess we start next session in a cave.
In a cave or with two new knights. We play a tarot card at the beginning of the next session,
Mm,
which who knows what's going to happen.
who knows? I mean, I would like to find out what happens in this cave. Uh, Um,
Oh, I do as well. I have to.
I think I think
She's just gonna start beating him up.
I think we'll just like we'll be in the cave at some point, no matter what. It depends on where we start with. But thank you so much for watching. Um, this was real good and interesting. And gosh, there is yeah, Dragon Hand definitely needs exploring. The whole just the dragoning in general is a lot.
He's the dragon of House Vespucci.
Okay, yeah, but I didn't think you meant literally.
Neither did I until we started playing. It's fun to play Dragon Hand.
I want to lean into the magic of this setting more. Okay, I'm a literal dragon person. Um,
He's his hand.
and his wings, his weird fire wings. Anyway,
Dragon wings.
yeah, thanks so much for watching. Grant, what do you who are you? What should people know about you? What's your favorite kind of ice cream?
Um, my name's Grant. You can find me on Twitter at WisePuppetGrant. I am an independent content creator for tabletop role playing games. I'm on a bunch of shows. I am the Twitch producer for WebDM's Twitch channel. I will be producing Starward Bound on their channel tomorrow night. Then afterwards, I'll be playing in the Ultraviolet Grasslands on Eric Vulgaris' Twitch channel. I have a bunch of products coming out. The TPK Handbook Volume 2, the TPK Bestiary, The Essence of Invisible Sun by Monty Cook Games. I was a contributing author on. I'm the host and event director of Gex Convention, which is a tabletop RPG and esports convention in Northern Virginia. We're doing the Tales of Tal'Dorei, and we're going to have a bunch of streamers like Laugh Love Lindy, Phantom Rollbooth, Castle Mac, Legends of Evantris, all come out and run games for attendees of that convention. I'm running Quest RPG for a special promotion on WebDM on Wednesday. And then for all other schedule information, check me out on Twitter.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Grant, for making this game and playing this game with me. And being a dragon person because that's
That's what I do.
fun. um, I'm Lauren. I'm Starving Soubrette. This is me. You found me. This was. I'm a Twitch affiliate now, which is cool. So thanks to everybody who helped get me there. And for people who have subscribed and like given bits and stuff, that's real cool. If you're watching on YouTube, come hang out on Twitch. It's fun. My schedule this week is on Wednesday. I will be back here. I'm going to play Alone Among the Stars. And then Thursday, I'll be on Tales from the Grim with Dungeon of the Mad Mage. And then Saturday, if you are in the Southern Ontario area, I will be at Forest City Comic Con in London, Ontario, giving a panel Beyond the X card with Kiana S. About kind of using how to use safety tools at your table and how to foster trust among your players so that you can facilitate the use of safety tools. So that will be very cool and fun. Other than that, you can follow me on Twitter. You can go to my website, which I promise this week I will have some explainer notes for Half Sick of Shadows because things are getting real complicated and I need to make these notes for myself. So you might as well get them all too. And I have a Patreon. You can go do that if you want. And you can see all of the fun stuff that I do. You can get access. You can vote on my streams. You can get access to my secret behind the scenes design notes. You can find out what I'm doing with my life. And we will see you on Wednesday. Thank you so much. Bye.